I don't completely understand the whole industry of acting and how someone really gets into it. Like, I get the idea, like, it's a whole process of, you know, getting auditions, putting yourself out there, going to different auditions, getting rejected multiple times, more times than actually getting the part. But at what point, like, what's the whole, like, what are some things that people don't realize about the whole auditioning process and really becoming an actor, and the different obstacles and hurdles you have to jump through to even maybe get an audition or stuff like that? Like, I kind of want to get, like, into, like, the roots of it.
I was just talking about this last night to another actor friend of mine. We were out, and you have to kind of be insane, I think, a little bit to do this job. Like, there has to be something, like, just intrinsically that's driving you, because yeah, it's like an uphill battle. Not battle, but it's like, I think you make a decision. I always laugh and be like, well, I chose circus life. I decided to join the circus, and this is the life that I'm living. And, like, you know, I'll die on this hill because I just love it. Was it you? Was it you guys were talking about the Truman Show, right?
We were, yeah. We were, yes.
Like, and we always talk about, like, these moments, you know, that make you want to be an actor. And there's a bunch of them. But, like, one of them was definitely, like, that Ovaltine scene in the Truman Show. I saw that as a kid, and I was like, whatever that is, I want it. I'm in. And, like, it was like shooting heroin for the first time. I was like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And so you realize that, like, there's got to be, I mean, either we're completely delusional, right? Or there's this thing that happens when you're creating art and you're giving back that, like, gives back to you,
right,
as well.
Well, like, a lot of actors I've heard say that they couldn't ever see themselves doing anything else other than acting. Like, that's whether they make it, quote unquote, or they don't. It's just one of those things that they need to do. And
100%.
Could you attest? Yeah, you would.
I attest to that 100%. I always say, as, like, a cute comeback when people ask, like, so when did you want to be an actor, or why? And I'm just like, if I could be anything else in this world, I would have done it. I would do it. But I can't be anything other than an actor. Like, I know full well the torture that I'm putting myself through living this life, just loving, just like for the love of the game, just like out here doing this thing because like I couldn't do anything else. Like, I've tried, part-time office jobs and things like that. And I just like, I can't. It's like, so it's like my best day on set is just worth all of the other days that you maybe are at a low. You know what I mean? Like, it's so good when you're fully in your purpose and you're doing something that you love, that you've dedicated your life to. Like, and who knows if I'll do this forever. I don't know the way my life is going to change, if I'll pivot. But like right now, like it just fuels. I mean, I wake up in the morning and until I go to bed at night, it's like the only thing I'm thinking
just
about, which is crazy.
Yeah. Just, the whole performative aspect of it. And did you know that since you were a kid? Like, was there like, because I feel like most actors and actresses that get into acting have like a certain personality type, and that I think that's actually been proven somehow. I don't know.
Really?
There's been research, I would assume so. I mean, someone that's like pretty shy, like a shy person, like a certain personality type, they would never get into acting.
I don't know. Some people, I shouldn't talk over you, right?
No, it's fine. No, interject, insult me.
I don't know. Some actors are like shy, especially comedians. Like you were talking about comedy. Like a lot of comedians, they're not necessarily, they say, funny sometimes in real life, or like actors, like people get such stage fright and
that's true.
Things like that. It's not necessarily about like being an exhibitionist and like wanting the attention. And I think that that's kind of a misconception, that like, I think our society has kind of stigmatized what we do, that like it's just like about being a fame whore and, you know, wanting the light on you and things like that. Like, and I guess if some people, that's what they want, and sure, it feels good sometimes, and, you know, maybe there is a sprinkle of liking how that feels, being in the spotlight, but it's such a different, like, I mean, I kind of think of it, because, like, I'm a little witchy, like, it's kind of like alchemy. It's like you're creating emotion. You're creating, like, you're changing energy and emotions, and you're affecting people. You know, and you're allowing yourself to be a mirror, and you're allowing yourself to like feel what other people would feel like if they went through something. And it's like teaches you about humanity and storytelling. And I try to stay grounded. I try to stay grounded in kind of, you know, that thing. If I had like a manifesto of like why I do why I love it.
I think it's very interesting. You know, we talked about this in the last episode when we were talking about Matthew Perry and what is the relationship between the audience member and the actor. And that's a very special relationship because it feels like we've lived with these characters for so long. And also you realize that these people are oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, they're nothing like the character. And you talked about, you know, not all actors are going to be necessarily extroverts. Some of them are introverts. Some of them are a little bit shyer. One story I've heard from who I think is one of the most talented voice actors to ever exist was Mel Blanc, who did all those Warner Brothers characters. And he was outside of the voice booth. He was a very quiet person, and people often described him as he couldn't really be himself unless he was doing voices. He would open up to people when he would do those characters, but as soon as he stepped off the microphone, he almost wouldn't talk. He was very, very, very quiet, very, very shy person. So not at all like the sort of, you know, someone you would expect to be doing those kind of character voices outside. But sometimes people just do this for work. They become that character and then they're done, and they're nothing like that. And sometimes for us, that's a disappointment because you kind of build up this false persona in your mind of who this person is. You don't really know them.
Right. But you think that you do. I have so much to say about that.
Yeah.
First thing is that, like, as an actor, putting on a mask, or as a person in general, it's like Halloween. When you put on a mask, when you put on a character, somehow, like, it's very freeing, right? Because it's still you, but you somehow feel transformed. You somehow feel like the me, Brianna Cohen, that everybody knew in third grade, or whoever I think that I am. I put on a mask, I put on a costume, and all of a sudden, or like I used to use a stage name, it just gave you an alter ego and you could be free. That's why I like working with accents too. Like sometimes you'll change like your mannerisms, your body language, your personality. There's like a TikTok going around, like when you speak another language, like how does your personality change?
Right.
And that's like a crazy thing to think about.
It's like a lot of like almost, I would say, in therapy, it's like a lot of like CBT. Like you put yourself, it's like therapeutic in ways, and like I remember, it is a weird story, and I've told you this before, Alex, but like Scarface is my favorite movie of all time, and Al Pacino, like Tony Montana is like, you know, he's basically like my god. And I remember going through a really rough period in my life, and I remember watching that movie and actually like talking the same way as Tony Montana did, and like walking the same way as he did. And I swear to God, it's as weird as hell. I don't even know why I'm saying this, but like I felt more empowered. I felt like Tony Montana in the movie. Like I didn't go sell fucking drugs and kill people, but you know, right. It got me through that period of my life somehow, some way. Just even I really try to put myself in Tony Montana's shoes and have that confidence and that fearlessness, and it just like translated into my life. So like I would assume like being on set and you know acting a certain character, like it really has it ever gone to a point where it's become a little unhealthy where you actually become the character, right? Like I feel like that's one thing that most actors don't really talk about. Like I feel like Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, I don't know how, like, the last day of filming that movie, I can't see him going home and being like, okay, now I'm Joaquin Phoenix. Like I feel like he brought Joker back home with him for at least a little bit. And have you gone through that, or have you seen anyone go through that where it just becomes a little unhealthy, where it's like, okay, dude, like you're offset now, like you don't need to.
There's definitely a process of kind of taking the character off or just kind of decompressing. Like after a show, I saw an interview with Kate Winslet that was so cool, something she said, and she was so honest about it. And I thought it was really cool of her. Mayor of Easttown was winning all of these awards. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it was just this really dark, gritty kind of crime drama. Mm-hmm. And she became, and she's from Wales, I think, or, she's from the UK. And she became this woman from Pennsylvania with these, really dark problems. And it was a heavy show. And the interviewer on the red carpet was like, so, you're winning all these awards. This show's doing so great. Like, are you just like ready to go back into season 2? And she like paused and she was like, I'm going to be honest with you. She's like, took me a long time and I had to go into therapy.
Oh, wow.
To kind of unwind from the mayor character.
Wow.
She was like, it was taxing on me as Kate. And she was like, so I don't know. And like the interviewer was kind of like stunned that she gave such like an honest answer. You know what I mean? And, I could see that happening. Like it depends what your process is. I think that there's definitely a healthy way to do it because, you want to have a technique, you want to have a process. This is a job and a business where like the lines between your real life and your career can be blurred and it can become unhealthy. And I think you need to have boundaries with yourself and you need to develop a healthy technique and process where you're able to take that character off and you're able to work healthily. It's not a therapy session every time you go on set. It can be.
Are there certain characters you wouldn't want to play or you would be hesitant on?
I got an audition for like a serial killer recently. And I was like, do I really want to go there? Some characters that are really dark. I mean, I like the dark stuff. And I've been cast mostly in a lot of the dark stuff. And I'm like, it's fun. But like, yeah, I guess sometimes you're like, do I really want to do this? Or if it's something like, too personal, like grieving something that's maybe too personal to what you're going through. Or maybe that's the thing that scares you. That means you should do it,
I think that's really
like I've had things
interesting.
I've declined that I think like, oh, I should have maybe done that.
Right.
It scared me too much.
Because it intuitively makes sense for someone to be just completely taken over by the character when you repeat the lines so many times and you're in that mindset of being that character. Like in the field of psychology, it completely makes sense why someone would become that character. Like it's the same thing as when manifestation, like talking about something, the more you say you actually start believing in, you start becoming that person. Like I feel like it's just yes, it's acting, and yes, you're on set and it's a career and it's a job, but I mean I don't think that's talked about enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had actor friends and I've had experiences too where you do a movie and then like kind of similar stuff manifests in your own life. I swear to God, like weird stuff like that. And it's almost like I feel just because like I'm like a spiritual person like that. Like I like to think that every project that comes to me that I do is like meant for me. There's a lesson, whether it's the character or the people, the personal experiences I have, whatever. And, like I heard a story of this girl. She kept getting pregnant characters and she wasn't a mom. And she's like, well, I keep getting the, and then she had, I don't know. And then she like had a baby or like something happened and she ended up getting pregnant, you know? And like, she was like, was this priming me for this experience? Like,
Right.
I don't know what that was. But I just want to say one thing too that's interesting about actors and feeling connected to them. Because I think if it's done right, what you're supposed to do as an actor, it's like why we feel so connected is because like the actor is a mirror for us. We're almost living vicariously through them. Like, so you're taking on like those feelings of empowerment that Tony Montana has, that anger that maybe you're afraid to express, that kind of fuck you attitude, right? Like taking over the world is yours, right?
100,000,000%. Oh my God.
Like
yeah.
you're like we're not allowed to necessarily act that way. If you were right, like you said, killing this in real life, you know, you'd go to jail or you know you'd end up like Tony Montana, whatever. We're not able to do that. Express those parts of our personality and our psyche like in person, in real life. So we're able to live vicariously through those characters.
Right.
And I think it's beautiful and healthy. And it can really support you. I've heard so many stories like that. You know, this got me through a tough time. And like, that's another reason why I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this because like it's bringing it's like, that's so cool.
Yeah. No, that's
yeah.
100%. Like I never thought of it like that. Like you're living vicariously through the character, right? Like a lot of the rage and like the sadness I had, I would during the scenes of where he would flip out or, you know,
It's not socially acceptable for you to do that.
No,
but
like,
for you to do it at home on your laptop or on your TV and get that out is beautiful.
it was pure bliss. It's really weird talking about it, but it really was.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's one of those things too, like, I wanted to get into this as well. It's like, for a lot of characters, I mean, there's a handful of characters in the history of film that only that actor could have played it. Like, for like one is Tony Montana. Like, I couldn't really see anyone else playing it. Maybe Robert De Niro, but I don't know. It's just like Al Pacino is the guy, and it's like Al Pacino is Tony Montana, Tony Montana is Al Pacino, and it's the same thing with Chandler and Matthew Perry, right? Like,
Right.
And I am actually reading Matthew Perry's book right now, and there's a part in it where he's talking about how when he was reading the lines for Chandler, he was telling himself, "Holy fuck, I am Chandler." Like, that's actually him, right?
Yeah.
And,
I have so much to say about this.
yeah, and then it's just crazy. Like, even offset for, you know, off of the set of Friends, even the crewmates were saying that, like, you know, Chandler is just, Matthew Perry is Chandler even off of set. Like, he is this.
Right.
It just like carries on after. So
I'm always fascinated by that, and I want to hear from you too, Brie, about your experience with this as an actor, about how much of yourself are you really giving, and are you really aware in the moment that you actually are there are elements of your persona creeping in, and how are you blending that with the character that you're supposed to be?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's different every time. What's interesting so I have a movie that's kind of like re-premiering on LMN on November 16th. I don't know when this is going to air, but it's called Sisters on the Run. And it was the first movie that I booked, that it was a part that when I did the audition, it was almost like breathing. Like, I didn't have nerves about it. I was just like, oh, I am this character. I get her. Like, it was like so organic. And I booked it. And I didn't like, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna book this, but I was like, I know that I put everything of me, and like, this was me doing this role, and I let it go because I was like, it just felt right, you know? And I think it's a rare thing that when that happens, It doesn't always happen. Sometimes you like really need to kind of mine and kind of find this character for yourself. And like sometimes it's not you, like it's not your essence, and that's fine. Like I just saw an interview with Jennifer Lawrence, and she was talking about in the earlier days, she and Emma Stone used to audition for the same roles all the time, go up against each other. And you think now, like, oh, well, they have some similarities, right? Of like they're kind of quirky, kind of hot, but like off-center women. You know what I mean? They speak their minds. But like you think of them as artists now, they're so different. And she was talking about a part that she really wanted to do I don't know if it was the Alice in Wonderland that Mia was. I can't know how to pronounce her name, but this other actress ended up getting, and she was sad about it. But when she ran to the theater to go see it, the actress it was just like, it was perfect. It was her. And she was able to like let that go and be like, sometimes I think of it like dating. It's like, the people that aren't for you, they're not going to be for you. The parts that aren't for you, let them.
So she saw this Mia actor perform it, and she was able to be like, okay, like that is her part. I don't need to be a part of that. Like that is her, and she plays that to a T. And she just appreciated the artistry of it, and just like the beauty and how natural it was about it.
And that artist, Mia, whatever her essence was, whatever her story was, who knows what she put in of herself, like that just connected and it's also the direction, like what that director wanted was right, that like it was like it's a flavor ice cream, you know what I mean? And like, I don't think anybody, what was that one? I know Winter's Bone, I guess, was like her Jennifer Lawrence's like first big one. But then what was the one with Silver Linings Playbook with
Jim Carrey? Or no?
Bradley
Cooper, yeah. Yes.
She was so her in that, right? Like that kind of solidified her as like a star, because like she was so just like Jennifer Lawrence in that, right? Like she just like kind of let her freak flag fly, and she was like, I don't know if anybody else, I mean, people could have played that role, sure. But like, I think you have to kind of be able to let it go and be like, the parts that are mine and like what I am, my essence, what I have to give, my memories, my flavor, artistic flavor, like you just have to remain confident and kind of grounded in that and know that like the people that are your people are going to recognize that the parts that are for you are going, you'll connect with that. Right. And you still might not get the part. But if you go into that audition and you give yourself authentically, I always think before I do an audition, this is me doing this part. This is how it would be without like a pressure of thinking what they want. That's a good audition thing. Like I had to make that switch. You need to go into an audition not worrying about what you think that they want. Of course, you get a breakdown, right? Woman, 25 to 35, this type of person, this job, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they'll give you like other actresses or characters that are like, in the same vein. But you need to then let that go after you do your preparation and be like, okay, and now this is how I would do it. Like if I was a filter, this would be through my filter.
This is how Brianna Cohen would react in this situation.
This is how Brianna Cohen would do it. And that's got to be good enough for right now, for the audition phase.
Right. But would you ever tweak it in a way to please the directors, right? Like, would you ever, I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better term, sell out just to get that part, right?
Yeah. Well,
no, I mean, I don't know if sell out's the right word, but like just like cater, just in a way to please the director, even if it isn't really authentically you.
Yes, but sometimes you'll make like really like interesting. You need to flow. You need to be okay with that, because like I have another movie coming out at the end of the month called The Perfect In-Laws. And it's about this woman newly married into this family, and she goes to meet the family for the first time, her husband's family, and realizes, there are all these secrets, stuffed under the rug. Mm-hmm. And the final scene is me. I write a book about this experience, and it's a success and whatever. And one of the characters who's kind of like left after this like massacre basically comes back. And my instinct was to be scared of her. And I played it almost like scared and tough. And we cut. And one of the executive producers was there on set, and the director. And they came back to me and they were like, we love that, but... And as an actor, this is a big thing. They want you to be able to make what we call adjustments. And in callbacks, people will sometimes have you do something completely different. I know a director who does this. It's like his thing. Mm. You'll do something and it'll be right. But he'll say, do it completely this way, just to see if you can be moldable. Because a lot of actors will get like stuck in one performance, and you don't necessarily want to do that. So they were like, you know what? Instead of being angry, mad, tough, scared, all of these things, what if you have like a woman-to-woman moment with her instead? And it's kind of soft, and you're not scared because she can't hurt you anymore, and you've both won instead. Instead of you being enemies, why don't you both won in this moment?
You have to switch it right on the spot.
And we switched it. Yep. And I was able to do it. And yeah, that's not always an easy thing to do. And maybe in another circumstance, I would have had a harder time. I've had times when I wasn't able to do it, and that sucks. We can talk about that too. I also have another moment where I wasn't able to get what the director wanted, and that always feels shitty. But this time I was able to do it.
Right. Sorry to interrupt. Is it with the same lines, or like, you know what I mean? Okay, so like, you just have to basically flip everything with the same lines and deliver it with a different. Okay, shit.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Completely different. So, I mean, but that's also like, that's also the fun shit, Mm-hmm. Like if you just want to play, like, that's fun. And we were able to do it, and it was awesome, and everybody was super happy, and it made the movie different.
And are you ever asked to improvise a little bit, or do they give you permission? Like, let's just try something. Let's improvise a little bit. And how are you with improvisation? What are your thoughts on actors improvising dialogue? And because I know that makes people a lot of very well-known actors, very accomplished actors, do not like that at all. And then others absolutely love the opportunity.
It depends. Because I don't know if I should name names here. It depends.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Let's name drop.
Let's not get her in trouble.
I'm an edgy guy. This is kind of an edgy podcast.
That's why I'm here, bro.
Yeah. But if you don't want.
There's a way to improv. Okay, yeah. Improvising is a skill. I like it. It's fun. It's a muscle. You know what I mean? If I was to give any like advice to any actors, it's to work on it in your auditions. Because that's also something that is a really great tip. If you're good at improvising, especially in commercial auditions, that'll make you stand out. So like you want to have like a moment, you want to think about like kind of like either a moment before the scene starts, but you don't really improvise before, but this is more of a mental thing. At the end, there's something called a button in an audition, and that's okay. You can add a button. And what that is your own personal little line, action, body movement thing that like kind of closes the scene. If it's funny, even more points to you because people, it engages people. But like if you're able to kind of like take something, grasp it, put your spin on it, and like make it better, great. Mm-hmm. But you also have to realize when you're in a scene with somebody else, you need to also improvise. You can't go so far off that they're not able to find you. You know, like where it becomes like your thing, like because you need to be able to like a constellation, like you need to hit the points that you need to hit so that they can follow you, you know, because you're both rowing this boat together. You can't go off on one thing. And I mean, unless you're in a show and it's like what, always yes, right? Yes and or whatever. In comedy, I don't have a background in that, but like you can in the stuff that I've done, like you can kind of paraphrase a little bit, but you don't want to throw off your partner.
Right.
You know, sometimes you
I've tried
the
the yes and stuff, and it's so anxiety inducing. Just I don't know what to say.
Yeah, like sometimes it works like a little thing at the end. You know, it depends. It depends who your partner is. Sometimes you just have really good flow with a certain partner, really good chemistry, and you're kind of just on the same frequency, and you guys can do it. And sometimes, you know, you're with another partner where you just have a different chemistry, where like you really do, or the director wants you to stick to the script. And sometimes the writing is, you know, brilliant. Like I had a friend who worked on the director. I got to work with Ashley Jones, who was on, who directed The Perfect In-Laws, that's coming out the end of the month. She was on True Blood. It's an Alan Ball show. Like, I mean, he's a legend.
Right.
She's like, you can't even do on those sets.
Shit.
You know what I mean? Because like it is written almost like in like a Shakespearean meter. Like you're not improvising there.
Right.
And as you should, like these people are genius creators, you know what I mean?
And I've heard too from certain directors who are also writers who have written the screenplay too. You cannot fumble any line, even if it's just like one word that seems insignificant to you. You can't do that. And they will be on you for it.
That sucks. That just sounds like it's a fucking nightmare. I would never like. I've heard the best directors are the ones that are actually very collaborative and actually take suggestions and advice from their actors. Like I feel like that's the best way to be a director. I don't know. I don't think I like just being a really rigid director and be like, this is my way. I don't like it would make sense that how that would suck, you know?
It just depends what you're making. It depends what kind of cake you're making. You know what I mean? Like if like something's really stylistic, something's like really tone driven, something's really, you know.
Like for what movie would you say being rigid and really structured was the way to go? Or like, can you think of a movie or a show that you would assume was really strict in that way?
Yeah, who's the guy that's so famous? The TV writer, like Aaron Sorkin. Like these people who are like these, like, you know, in the industry considered these like genius writers. Like,
right.
Like they have a style and a tone and a way of writing.
Are you thinking of Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Yellowstone and all those series? Because I know I've heard that too. Yeah,
that's a great one too, Taylor Sheridan. And like you were saying before, like. Sometimes you hear stories that like things are strict on those sets, like, but it works. Like he's got a recipe that works. Like
I respect
got a
that
recipe that works.
I respect that because Taylor Sheridan is a really great writer. Why would I want to change anything?
Why would I even be like, I know better than him?
Exactly.
He's got a formula that works. I'm not gonna put, you know, that's not the arena to do that. Unless he wants it. I mean, or you work with Judd Apatow, and I feel like people are like, the whole thing is about improv, and he's working with comedians who are great at that. And that's what they're making. They want to see what these artists, then it's a totally different project.
Right. Like even when Seth Rogen directed, was it Pineapple Express or Step Brothers or one of those two? I mean, with him, it's just like, he's probably inviting the suggestions, you know, like what do we do here? What do we say? And then I actually heard on Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan, yeah, he's the director, but like Bryan Cranston basically ran everything. Like Bryan Cranston was the guy that people went to, and Vince went to, and that's my favorite show of all time, Breaking Bad. I think it was perfect on every.
Well, yeah, Breaking Bad was a great show, but a lot of these, when you're the principal actor too, I see this all the time where they become executive producers, and they have, sometimes these titles don't mean a whole lot, but sometimes they do, and sometimes they're very involved with the creative process. They're even possibly contributing to story ideas, concepts, that kind of stuff, and they have a lot of pull. I know. I don't want to get into it because there's this whole thing now with Kevin Costner. Have you heard that thing with Yellowstone?
There's some beef.
There's beef between them, and now he doesn't want to work as much, which I don't understand. It's like, you got yourself involved with a TV show that has a lot of hours. Now you want to work 3 days a week. How does that work? I don't get it.
But he's also like Kevin Costner, and he's older, and he's like I don't know, like
he does what he wants. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
when you get to that level, it's kind of like I do what I want. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, like Costner. Harrison Ford. Like I saw someone give an interview, someone that. Like is kind of an acquaintance. Like he did a scene with Harrison Ford, and like he was just like, "All right, I'm only gonna ride this horse 3 times." So you know what I mean?
I love that guy. I think that guy's dry wit is. That guy's dry wit is so good, and I just love how salty he is. He's such a curmudgeon, and he's just funny.
It's weird. Like you see one particular actress that's been like really I've basically fallen in love with her for the past year or two is Jenna Ortega.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah. What is it about her that you love so much?
Okay.
She's obviously connects
here
to a
we
lot
go.
of people.
Oh God, you want me to get into this? Okay.
Did I just open up a can of worms?
Yeah, you did. You really did.
Sorry, Alexander.
Well, the first time I actually saw her was on the show You, the second season, when she was playing the little sister of I don't even know her name. And she was the little sister, and I noticed her, and I was like, oh yeah, she's cool. She's playing her role to a T. And then obviously Wednesday came out, and there was a lot of hype around it, a lot of talk. And one day, late afternoon, I wasn't doing anything, rainy night. I was like, I'm just going to throw this on. And for me, that character, Wednesday Addams, the way she played it basically triggered a lot of PTSD, because a relationship that I used to be in many years ago, her character, like her Wednesday Addams character, was like basically a mirror image of my ex.
So you like the goth chicks is basically what you're saying.
Well, not even like the goth vibe, but it was just like the standoffish, emotionless, cold, stoic.
Remember Daria? My generation would be like Daria.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, I don't know.
I feel you.
I'm a little baby, I guess.
I know. I know.
Yeah, you could tell. But that show, like, I literally remember watching Wednesday Addams, like Jenna Ortega playing that role, and thinking, "Holy fuck, this is my ex." Like, this is, and as I'm watching it, as she's playing the scenes, it's like I would be putting myself in that scene, and I would be the one talking to Wednesday Addams, and it was like as if I got put into a time machine and taken back 7 years ago. And long story short, that Jenna Ortega fucking had a number on me on that show. Like, I ended that show thinking, holy shit, what the hell just happened to me? And all these like past emotions came up. I had to go see my therapist about it, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I'm just letting it out now. I can't believe I just did that.
It.
The whole point of me bringing up Jenna Ortega is like, she exploded onto the scene and into the world. Like, she gained like 30 million followers in like a week.
Yeah.
Like, it was absurd. I hadn't seen anyone get to that level like in recent memory. And it's just crazy to me. Like, she's only like 21, and there's so many people that have been in the industry for so long, and they're doing these roles, playing in these shows, and having smaller roles and stuff like that, and
for 30 years,
and it's one of those things, and it can relate to podcasting as well, like having one guest on, or one breakout moment with a guest, and that podcast just blows up. Is it really luck based? Like there is a lot to do with luck in the field of acting in the film industry, and I'm not taking anything away from Jenna Ortega. She fucking made me go see my therapist, for God's sakes.
Right.
So,
something she did affected you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a few things to say about it. So I went to this open mic night for the first time. I found my people here where I live now, and so I'm so excited.
Nice.
And everybody went out for like a smoke break or whatever to get some air. And this guy comes running out, one of the guys who's, part of the crew. And he's like, "Oh, so-and-so is about to play. Everybody come on in." And he was like, no, you want to go see him. And so we were like, first I was like, oh, we're like having fun out here, blah, blah, blah. There was like this one song that everybody loves. And he was a quiet, like we were saying, he was a quiet guy. I'd seen him there. He was like in the corner, quiet. This man got up there and sang with his whole heart and soul. And he just connected. Like, he was just like, I was like, whoa, yeah. And then you like think like, okay, what makes an artist different, right? You could have 1,000 people, but then that one person is able like to connect, right? Like they're doing it from their soul. She could, like, she connected, she could be that one person, right? Or, I mean, Sydney Sweeney blew up like that, I feel, right? Like, kind of into this, like, icon status for a while.
She's the one from Euphoria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched that show,
Lotus.
or White Lotus, yeah.
Yeah. And she's also, like, she's really good at, like, being her. Like, at what she does, she's really good.
I was just going to say that, too, going back to the luck thing, I think, and I've heard this from other actors, is that sometimes it's a chain of events. You had to do that one movie that you didn't think that was that great, but then the right person was on set that noticed you, that got you the part for this next thing, and had you not done that thing that you didn't want to do, then maybe that other bigger, more successful part wouldn't have happened, right? So stuff like that happens.
I did a student film. My first lead, I barely even had lines in this thing. I won like all these awards from it, like 2 years later. It was so lovely. And then like one of the heads of this film festival, is talking to me about doing this like dream project in Brazil. That would have, like 3 years ago, this was like pre-pandemic I shot this thing. And it connected with him in some way. Out of, like you can't plan that sort of stuff. And you just got, like, again, like I say, like, you just got to kind of do it for the love of the game, and you just got to kind of follow your instincts, like, about what projects speak to you. And, I mean, you got to make a living, sure. I don't know. Like, you got to just be authentic and be out there. And I think breaks come. Breaks come. Like, sometimes you meet people, and, I mean, I had a friend who met a guy, and he gave her first job, and now she's, a big deal costumer.
That's
that one job.
It's just
It's tough to get in the industry. Right. I mean, it's tough to be an actor, but also a lot of those other jobs. I mean, yes, you can go to film school, but to get a lot of those jobs, it's not necessarily a piece of paper. It's just by you get in on the ground floor, getting coffee from people, and you just apprentice, and someone takes you under their wing and gives you an opportunity, and you just grind and grind and grind until you get to the point where you need to be. And there's a lot of that in the industry too. And I'm curious what you think about this, but I feel like there's something to be said for not how, I'm not saying people shouldn't have a fallback plan with whatever career path they should have, but I think there's something to be said for not having a fallback plan. Going back to something you said at the top of the hour, where you were saying this I have to do this, and I think having that drive, that focus, that laser focus, there's nothing else I can do. I have to, because I don't have a fallback plan. I have to make this work. I have to make this happen, and I think it drives you.
Yeah, it's also how I think. Like, this is how I'm best of service to the world right now. I think. At least that's kind of what the feedback, like, I'm just on this train, I'm riding it until I get off of it. You know, if they're paying me to do it, I'm going to do it, you know, as long as I can, until something pulls me away from it or whatever. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm just grateful. I mean, like I said, like, sometimes I'm just like, 10 movies? How did that happen? You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting here talking to you about stuff like that years ago, like, I just would have, like, dreamed about, you know, and, like, it's cool, it's wild, you know, and I'm just I still think it's kind of a dream.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, you know.
Honestly, like, my theory is, like, people can make their own luck. Like, yes, there are, you know, certain people like Jenna Ortega, or even you know, Bobby Althoff, that the new podcaster that just...
Let's talk about her, because she's genius, though, right?
Right. Yeah,
but, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, her and, like, Tinks, like, they, like, this is what I'm saying. They're so authentically them. Like a Jim Carrey also, and, like, a Jennifer Lawrence. Like that's the thing. I think that's the special sauce. Is, like, you got to get to a point where you're just like, fuck it. I'm going to be fucking me. And that's actually when it fucking comes back to you. That's the moment. And, like, you got to be unapologetic about it. Right. And to be honest, that's actually the shit that scares you, the shit that you think is, like you were saying, you didn't want to tell the story about, you know, you were depressed, you were this.
Yeah.
That's actually the shit people want to hear.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it really, like, I can speak for myself in this podcast. Like, there's been episodes where I've, like, held back and haven't really said what's on my mind, just because I am fearful of what, you know, getting in trouble, or, you know, whether the topic is a little edgy and I don't want to piss people off or come off as, like, some sort of guy that I'm not. But, like, these are things that I truly believe in, right? And I guess, like, you know, yeah, I mean, I would 100% like assume, you know, I would assume that, like, most actors and most actresses want to play, like, they just want to kind of be conservative and safe in, like, the role, and don't really want to step out of that.
Authenticity is your biggest superpower, and you're not always going to walk in perfect alignment with that, right? Because you get thrown off by whatever shit's going on in your mind. But, like, when you're truly tapped into your authenticity, like with Bobby Althoff, right? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Like, look at that. So she's this girl. She has this way of being. Yeah. Right? This really awkward, specific way of being. And she just, like, put the gas pedal down on that and was like, that's me. Yeah. And it just connected with so many friggin' people. And it's 100% her. Yeah. And how freeing is that? Like, I want to get to that point. Whether I start a podcast or start, you know, creating whatever, or even through my acting work, I don't know what form it's going to take. But how freeing. And like I said, like Tinks too. Like, she just likes to be herself and talk about relationships and XYZ. Like, how freeing and cool is that? Right. To be able to do that and know that it connects. It does. When you're real, it does connect with other people, but it's so scary.
Right. Yeah. No,
so
it's
scary.
It's really scary. And, like, there's always going to be people that support you and that are going to connect with it. So it's one of those things where it's like, the fear of like, oh, no one's gonna like this or no one's gonna really appreciate it, that's all bullshit, because there is gonna be at least one person that's gonna listen to you, whether, no matter how absurd it is, and they're gonna agree with you and they're gonna connect with you, right? Like it could be fucking basic, it could be anything, right? And
I think the most successful people are like sometimes very polarizing, and that's okay. Like, and that's something I've had to kind of deal with just like as myself. Like sometimes I get like very polarizing reactions to myself. People think I'm aggressive, or people think I'm this, or when I'm just passionate, or whatever. It's like how other people perceive you, like you can't control. And it actually has more to do with them than it does with you. And like you can't live your life worrying about that because you're not going to create anything worthwhile. Like your people will find you, you will find your people. And the ones that aren't your people, cool. They'll have their people. They'll be in their boat having fun,
and
you know?
And that couldn't be more true than in a place like the film industry. Like if you
Right.
do lose yourself in the process, it's over, you would say.
If you what?
If you if you lost who you really were and your identity and what you really stand for in film and why you wanted to start, or just being completely
you could say-
authentic, like you would lose your direction and really, and like people directors, crewmates, they would all sense that. They would be able to grab onto that, be like, okay, like Bree's not,
The worst part of my job of being an actor in general, especially on camera, is that, and I think it's like a biological response, like for survival. When you're not being truthful and you're not being real, people read that shit in a second. And there's definitely a handful of times, that I'm not. Because, I'm still learning. But that's actually the one thing, is that's scary. Is that, like, you're really, like, people know when you're being truthful, when you're connected, and when you're not. On camera, it's so obvious. Like, we just pick that up. It's almost like, it's like a sense that we have. So it's like, it's wild. And sometimes you can't sense it because, like, you're trying to be something, rather than just being real. So, like, you'll try to, like, just pull yourself back to, like, am I being authentic in this moment or not? And it's a process, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Sometimes you do a take and you're like, okay, that was bullshit.
Well, what happens? Like, what makes you think, oh, that was bullshit? Like, because a lot of the times too, like when I do an episode when I'm hosting, I'm like, I leave right after. I always tell Alex, I'm like, fuck, man, I should have done better. I don't know why. Like, I was too in my head. I wasn't really present. But people that are watching,
it's hard to read yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard to read yourself, though, right? Is that what you're gonna say? And then it turns out to be a good episode.
Yeah, and like people that have listened and watched it, like, dude, you're fine. Why are you overthinking it? It doesn't seem like you're not present. It seems like it's fine. You're just fucking
It's hard
freaking
because
out,
like sometimes it's like very blatant. Like you're, like you said, you're not being relaxed. You're not being honest. Whatever. But there's a point. Like I led a movie called My Sister's Serial Killer Boyfriend. And it was a great movie, great time filming. Everybody was super jazzed about it, and I felt like I did good work on the most part. The last scene comes to film, and it's like a very emotional scene. Someone was murdered, and it was my fault, and I'm getting fired, and I see a body bag being rolled out in front of me and my friend. And it was the last scene we filmed in the whole movie. And I was feeling good up until that moment. You know what I mean? Filmed this scene, and I felt like I blew it. And I like was so mad at myself. It's like almost like I thought I shot a perfect game, which you should never think of something like that about yourself, Stupid. But I was like, ugh, like I don't want to leave on this note. Like this was such a good shoot. I watched it back. It was fucking fabulous.
Right.
Like not like again, not to say oh, it was fabulous, but like it was good. It was good. Like it was good enough. Like I thought I tanked it. Like it was fine.
It wasn't as bad as you thought, and it's actually,
it wasn't as bad as I thought.
It was better
is
than
basically what I have to say. And Evan Peters, right? You know the guy Evan Peters, who's like in
Dahmer.
American Horror Story, and he did this amazing job in Mayor of Easttown. And I just saw an interview with him too. There was this scene he played drunk, which is one of the hardest things, like in the acting world, like playing drunk, like because you can mess it up. And if you can play drunk really well, it's like actors like tip their hats to each other because it's hard.
Nice.
And he did this scene with Kate Winslet in this bar where he was drunk and he loved her, he didn't want to make it show, whatever. It ended up being so friggin' good. And he said that when they wrapped on that scene, he wanted to quit. He cried tears. This grown man was crying tears, which,
Wow.
Should we take it this seriously or not is another question.
Jesus.
But like, he was like about to like pack it all in and be like, I'm done. And it ended up being one of the best scenes of the whole series. So like, you can't, I don't know.
I mean,
man.
he could have just drank and gone drunk and really just been drunk. But I mean,
That's the thing. I know, right? I don't know.
There's method acting for you.
There's- I
It might have been Michael Caine that said this, and I thought he gave it made sense when he said it, and it sounds weird, but when he was describing how to play someone drunk, and you're right, people can go so over the top, and sometimes that's called for, but he said, usually when people are drunk, they're talking slower, but in their mind, they know they're talking slower, so they're trying to speed up too.
Right.
And so
hide.
they're trying to hide it. So the best acting I've seen when people are drunk is it's subtle. They're slowing down just a little. They're not going all like crazy and over the top. But sometimes maybe they are, but there's a subtlety there of it's just regulating your pattern of speech and just slowing down a little bit. It's really, really interesting. There's an old video, I think it's from the 70s, of Michael Caine talking to an acting class. I love that. I watched that so many times. His
book was the first acting book I ever read.
Oh, really?
It's a classic. So good.
Very
So
cool.
good.
Wait,
Yeah, there's so many great
who's
tips.
Michael Caine?
Please.
Look him up.
Please.
I've heard of them. I've heard his name. I don't know anyone.
He's an English actor. He's probably in his 80s now, right?
Oh shit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he's up there. But he's still...
Did you see the Batman with Christian Bale?
Shitty.
You thought... Okay.
Okay.
What? I'm clicking exit.
I know,
Right
I
now.
know.
No. Okay, listen, dude. Listen.
We can actually talk about this.
Listen.
actually.
Okay.
Listen.
Heath Ledger, incredible. Christian Bale is the worst Batman ever. He is so bad. What is
You
he
just
good
said
at?
that on camera.
His voice change when he
Okay.
puts on the suit, for God's sake.
I know the voice wasn't good, and I'm actually so I'm the biggest Christian Bale fan ever.
I love him.
When I was about 8,
He's a
I was
tasty
at
dish.
sleepaway camp, and I saw Newsies for the first time, and I saw these men singing and dancing in these outfits, and I was like, oh, okay, I like boys, I guess.
Yeah.
And I came home. And I went to Blockbuster with my mom, and we rented every single Christian Bale movie. And this was way before the Batman thing. And I was like, why is this guy not the biggest actor in the friggin' world? I didn't get it because I thought he was so great.
Yeah.
And then American Psycho,
Yeah.
right? Cult classic.
Yep.
And Batman, then. I don't know which one was first. American Psycho was first, right?
American Psycho was first. Oh yeah.
And yeah, maybe it was not his best performance, or it's not his thing, but he is, to me, he's my favorite. Like, I love him.
Okay.
Have you seen Christian Bale in Equilibrium? Because I
Yes.
love that movie, and you
He's
have. I know you
fucking
haven't seen it.
genius.
You need to see that.
What was the other one where he was fucking he was like really skinny and he couldn't sleep?
The Machinist.
Machinist. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good. That was good. That was really good.
And he's another one that people talk shit about, like, on set. So
Oh
who
well,
knows?
that
Like,
famous
I don't
the famous
know.
blow up. It's that stuff.
Have you seen that, Brie?
And again, I get that too.
I will say this: there's a certain level of professionalism you have on set, and I don't want to excuse his behavior because it seems like he was on the verge of becoming violent on the set. But I absolutely, after listening to the whole thing and hearing what happened, that guy screwed up multiple times. He was warned. And you're giving your all in a very intense scene. And to have someone in your eye line distracting you, that would absolutely piss me off. And if you've wrecked multiple scenes, which is what it sounds like that guy did, I think he has every right to get mad at that guy.
It's like when somebody keeps walking in a shot. Like we had this moment, I was doing this movie, this guy, he had to enter the scene, right? Mm-hmm. And every time he kept entering the scene, he was blocking the camera. His back blocked the camera.
Yeah,
and you're just like,
ridiculous.
Bro.
That's ridiculous.
What are you doing, man? Figure it out. Christ.
But I know. You don't want to be that actor that is, like, again, you don't want to get that difficult.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Well, I agree with everything Christian Bale said right up into the part where he said, "If you say one more thing, I'm going to kick your fucking ass." And they were like holding him. They were holding him back.
That's all. Yeah. I feel like that's also him just like power tripping just because of who he is, right? Like that's also the part. You don't want that
either.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard this stigma before or this like stereotype about actors, particularly comedian actors, comedics, is that actors and actresses, they're a little off in some way. Like they're like, it's like this known thing with people in the film industry and entertainers where they're not really like something about them. Something's off with them, right? Mm-hmm. Like whether it's they're awkward, whether they are a little bit like they're assholes or something. Like Joaquin Phoenix is a weird dude. Like he's a freaking if you've seen his interviews, like he's like just something about him. Like he's a little unconventional, he's a little quirky, right? Like
I think there are some exceptions, but I've met some very, very well-adjusted, well-known actors, and I there are some exceptions, but I think a lot of people are fine.
Well, like I don't know,
we get a very bad rap.
Yeah,
and I can't say that we don't deserve it. But I've also met some pretty well-adjusted, cool actors. But I don't know, but I think that the industry is changing, and something that's interesting about Jenna Ortega and like this younger generation that's coming up. And who is that other girl, Rachel? Something that was in the Snow White that just got pushed or whatever. Like these young actresses, they are in like their own Gen Z way, like speaking out. Like I would never think to like speak out against the writers and
that's a tough one. That's a tough one, right? Because it's like, but would Wednesday have been such a success if she didn't then take the reins and say, look, guys, if we want this to be as successful as we all want this to be, I see something that you don't see. Yeah. I think that takes balls. I think that takes balls to stand up. And even if you're not right, I think that it's you have to tread very carefully. It's tough. I mean, there's probably a little more leeway when you're the principal actor. I mean, if you're in any other position, you could get fired pretty quickly. You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to do that. But
especially in this industry that has been built on scarcity. Like there is a culture of scarcity in this business that I hope kind of unravels a little bit, and maybe with this strike ending and stuff, like I would love like for there to be kind of just like like the wage gap to kind of close, and like there be like a middle class actor, like it could be just like a trade, where like you can go and make a living, and like you don't have to be a star and you don't have to be a starving artist. Like you can be a part of this labor force of an actor until AI takes your place. But
100% support that.
What I mean?
100% support that everybody should be able to make a living wage no matter where they are. From the below the line people to whatever production it is, they should absolutely. And I haven't really unpacked all the details about the strike, and I'm not sure if you want to talk about that at all. But
not really.
There's There's a lot to unpack there. I don't think we have the time for it today, but
I'm not really.
I'm honestly not. I'm not as educated on it like that. To discuss it really.
Yeah, I'm not really in tune with it.
Well, one thing that really bugs me, and I never thought about this in the past because I've done some extra work, but it kind of bugs me that, and I do agree with the fact that these companies, like I had somebody do a 3D scan of my face to know that my face my likeness can be used, and I'm a nobody. I'm an extra, but that could be used, and they can make money off of that, and I get nothing.
Yeah,
they can use that forever. I don't agree. That is a terrible, terrible policy.
Wait, so do you have an IMDb now, Alex?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing because it just, and this goes back and then continue on your next question. But you were talking about Tony Montana getting you through like some really hard times. Like I had long haul COVID for months and I was alone for 3 months. And I was one of the first people to have it. And I was getting all these weird symptoms and like nobody could help me. And I like didn't want to see anybody, because I didn't want to like give them this disease. It was like, March 2020. Nobody knew what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And I put on Band of Brothers. Like, I was watching war movies. I love war movies. And, like, I guess because, like, the stakes were so high in it, like, it just got me through. I was like, if these guys, it was kind of dramatic. I'm, like, not fighting a war. You know what I mean? Like, but, like, I had this, I was sick just, like, for days and days and days and alone. And I was like, so I don't go into like this deep dark hole. Like, look at these people doing like the hardest thing human beings can do, right? Like war is the worst thing humans can go through. Yeah. And here these people are kind of getting through it and making, and like it gave me like the capacity to like, keep pressing on. So like that's why it's really important to make these things, And then I watched True Blood for the first time, and like going into that fantasy world like was such an escape.
Right.
You know?
No, I get it. Yeah, it really is like medicine. You could say that. I mean, it's cool you said during COVID you started watching. I started watching Peaky Blinders during COVID, and like the whole,
I love Peaky Blinders.
Right, like Cillian Murphy in that Tommy Shelby role was just like.
I still haven't finished the series.
Yeah,
got to do that.
Yeah, and like, fuck, girls love that guy. Like women,
dude. I know.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
I know. Yeah, he's like
Yeah, and he's like a little skinny, weird looking dude, and like just the sexiest thing.
Yeah.
In that role.
And I'm not. I'm a straight arrow, but like I could understand why.
Fuck yeah.
Like girl.
You get it.
Yeah, I totally get it.
I actually don't think he's a bad looking guy. He's got very angular. He's got the chiseled jaw. He's got a lot of symmetry happening. If you analyze his facial features.
Objectively, he's very good looking. Like objectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oppenheimer was shit, though. Oppenheimer was shit.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Contrary to popular belief, boring as hell. Boring as hell. But that's just me.
Honestly, I just saw Barbie like this week.
So
that is a fantastic
So good.
I loved it. What did you think?
Yeah. It was good. I wasn't like over.
Not blown away.
What? Really?
But I also think I'm just like I know, as being like a millennial woman, I just think I'm also like a weirdo. Like I also maybe like I don't love when things are like so hyped. Like it makes me kind of go like that. But like Taylor Swift, like I can't. Like I think if I actually let myself feel the joy of Taylor Swift, I would be converted in a second. But I like still have that like sad girl part of me that's like no. Listen to Mitski and Hole and cry is better for you. Right. It's not. Yeah. But like I don't know. It was I don't know. I just thought it was just like a lot of visual, a lot of I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just I wasn't in line in a pink jumpsuit the day of, is all I'm saying.
Right. No, I mean,
I appreciated it though, and I loved it.
Right.
And you know,
The one thing I will say about that movie, because I wasn't I saw the trailers. I was whatever. I didn't feel like I had a reason to see it. Then people started talking about it. Okay, I'll go to the theater. Let me just see what this thing's about. When I walked out, I have to say, because my expectations were set really low, I thought for what they set out to do for that movie, I don't think it could have turned out any better. I thought, and I forget her name, the director. She had such a creative vision. I've watched all the behind the scenes things, and I just thought she did an amazing job, and all the designs are incredible. I thought all the casting choices were incredible. It doesn't seem on paper like this kind of movie. It doesn't seem like it should work, but it did.
It was brilliant in a lot of ways, and it really, like, it brought theaters back. Like, theaters, like, theaters are dying. Like, they're still probably maybe not 100% resuscitated, but, like, for this moment and for, like, the next little bit, like, Barbie Oppenheimer, like, thank God for them.
Yeah,
they saved this industry. They, like, at least, like, put some, breathe a little life into it for the next few years, I hope.
Yeah.
So, like, amen to that.
Like all the promos of like what was it called? Barbenheimer or whatever?
Barbenheimer,
like the whole thing. Like it almost felt like you had to go watch it.
I know. I think that was what was just like for me a second. I was like, my Aries was like, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's like, God damn it. Like there's like this like extra added pressure on you like to go watch it on the same day because a lot of people did that.
Do I have to get pink glitter and show up and wait in line? I'm too tired.
All right. I mean, I can't complain. As a guy watching Margot Robbie, it's
I know.
Yeah, she's
gorgeous.
She's nice to look at. She's pleasant on the eyes. Let's just say that. But yeah,
she had an interesting discovery story. Her Pan Am was supposed to be like really big. I don't know if I should tell. I guess I don't know. I went on a date with her old roommate one date, and he told me this story that she went. Her show got canceled. Pan Am was like she thought was going to be her big breakout, and they canceled the show. And then she gets a call from her agent. She was like out with friends. They were like, we need to fly you to New York to do like a chemistry read or like a callback for what was Wolf of Wall Street.
Holy
and that
shit.
became her thing. And she was just like, she was depressed about Pan Am being canceled. She thought she was it. She was done. She was about to pack it in. I mean, or just, she was sad about it.
Right.
It's going back to what I said earlier, is those happy little accidents sometimes. Like, it seems terrible at the moment. That show you were on, you thought was going to go somewhere, gets canceled, but you get Wolf of Wall Street.
Jesus.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it was that, and this is something we were talking about auditioning, this is something that, because she was like coming off of that disappointment from the Pan Am cancellation, she just went into the Wolf of Wall Street audition and was like, fuck it. And she nailed it. The first thing I ever booked, I like went through this like breakup. It wasn't that serious. It was like a really lame situationship. But it was like one of those breakups where I was like, I'm not fucking standing for this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And my friends were all going out, like some of my oldest friends, and I had this audition for this movie, which ended up being the first movie I was cast in that kind of started this, line of films, TV movie films. And I did and I'm not saying this is what you do for everyone, but this particular one, I was just like, I'm just going to do this from the gut. I was holding the pages in my hand. I had the friend that was with me read with me. Mm-hmm. I ended up booking it. And I like just did it from the gut, sent it in, went and had fun. Didn't think about it. Got a call a week later. I'd almost forgot I'd auditioned for it.
Wow.
And sometimes, like, people will say, like, that's the stuff you book because you're just, you could talk about it spiritually, it's attachment. You could talk about it technique-wise. It's like you're just, like, again, shooting from the hip.
Yeah. You were super relaxed. You were completely unencumbered. I totally
relying
feel
on
that.
your instincts, and you were just like here I am. I'm going to do it. And that connected, you know? And so I think that you have to you got to do that.
And it's just like the cliche, like the expression, like, don't try too hard. Like, the more you try hard, it's like the less, you know, the more you fucking just really like hone in onto something, it's like the more it's like, you know, a woman, like the more you cling on, the more she's not attracted. It's just simple as that. The less you give attention, that person comes towards you more. I mean, it's just simple science. Yeah.
Well, I think that
I feel like it's the same thing. I don't
know. It's like, you know, with some of the best jobs that I've got, you know, I went in with this attitude, not that I didn't care about the job, but I think because I was so unencumbered and I felt like I had nothing to lose, I was relaxed and confident. And I think when you have a bit of desperation in you, I think that affects your performance, and it comes across. You don't realize it, but people smell desperation, and they're like, and especially in your industry, Brie, they're like wolves, right? They're just like waiting for you to screw up.
Well, that's the fear. That's the fear, but I don't think so. I think people want you to win. I mean, if I was a casting director, and I've heard casting directors do this, I mean, you think people are waiting for you to fuck up. But like if I was a casting director and I saw somebody come in and friggin' nail it, I mean, I would run to tell my producers and my director, run and be like, look what I found. Like, we want everybody to win. You know, but like I said, it's like these stories of gatekeeping and scarcity and stuff that, like, I hope change in the industry, because it's not helpful really for anybody.
You're right, and I think that is the fear. I know a lot of creative types, including me. I mean, imposter syndrome. You've probably heard of that, right? You feel like, you know, you're totally in your head. You feel like you're somehow tricking people into believing that you're good at something. And this is a real problem that I have, and it's a constant work in progress, but it can be, man, you are really your own worst enemy, and really you can self-sabotage very, very easily. I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
I think there's enough to go around too, because I feel like a lot of people don't think there's enough like piece of the pie for everyone. There is. Yes. There really is.
Right.
That's a good point.
The best people that I've met in this industry are the people that believe there is enough to go around.
I understand the fear of thinking that there isn't enough. Like, I also understand that side of it too. You know what I mean?
Especially on the high level.
I wonder if that's a bit of self-preservation too.
Like, you're telling yourself that.
Yeah, just like I need to protect what I got, and then, like, I can't make space for other people.
It's me against the world.
Yeah. I mean, like, where competition and stuff comes in like that.
And competition is fine,
it's a shitty place to be, and honestly, nothing grows from that place. So, like, anytime I feel that creeping in, because it happens, you know, you're scrolling on Instagram, or you see a peer or somebody, you know, like, oh, I wish I got that role, or oh wow. Like, if you're just like in a weird place at that moment and you feel like like that, like, twang that's like not great, you're like, I try to get out of that as soon as I can, because like nothing grows from that place. It's not great. It's not good. It's not good energy to put out. And like I said, like, you got to stay in your lane. Like, you got to just focus on being the best artist that you can be, that feels the most authentically, because, like, at the end of the day, fuck it, like, we're all gonna die. Like, we're all gonna, like why are we putting all this pressure on ourselves? Like, if we've already decided, like, I'm gonna do this with my life, then why not go balls to the wall and fucking be myself? Who knows? I've come this far.
I literally said this before this episode. I told Alex, you know what remember what I said? I said, we're too far into this podcasting thing to turn back now. Like, we're damn near,
too far in.
We're damn near 100 well, no, not even. We're damn near 70 episodes.
After 65 episodes, quitting at this point would be ridiculous. Right. I think.
Exactly. And it's, you know what? Amen.
I think also, though, it's a good thing. I think it's healthy to have that little competitive edge. Like, if you didn't get a role that one of your peers did, it is, I mean, I feel like it is healthy to be like, fuck, like, I wanted that role. Okay, how am I gonna get better? How am I gonna land the next role, right? Like I think that like there's a little bit of healthy competition. Like, yeah, like I have a podcast here in Vancouver, and like if someone else starts a podcast, I do kind of like have that in my radar. Like, oh, okay, this person started a podcast, but I'm not gonna let it like consume me to the point where it's like, yo, that's my whole purpose of just like destroying this podcast and like beating this person. But like, yeah, it's on my mind. Like, you know,
you could be like, what do they do well?
Yes.
What do they do well? And maybe it's not maybe one of your strengths. And I'm not saying you have to make that one of your strengths, but you can recognize and kind of be interested and curious. Like, oh, what does that person do really well? That, oh, wow, that's so interesting. That's so cool. I respect them for that. What do I do really well that feels, good in my bones?
And have you, like, for you, like, have you talked to your peers and asked them how they navigate through this particular scene, or what they're thinking of when they're trying to deliver this line? Like, I'm sure like you've talked to your peers about that and wanted more information, right? Like that's part of
like on set when we're doing it.
Well, I mean, not even like the people you're working with, but like other actors and actresses that you look up to and you respect their work. And have you ever, like, is that a thing in the film industry to like hit up another actor and say, hey, like I want some pointers from you?
Like, what was your process here?
Yeah, what was your process? How did you go into this? Like, is that like a thing?
Yeah, totally. I remember, I don't know if this totally fits, but I remember calling a friend, discussing something, and be like, I loved what you did here. Like, you were fucking in it. Like, and she was like, oh, well, I loved how you really used your voice in this film. I felt like you're, like with your character, like, like. And so we discussed, like, like kind of what our preparation was, or how we felt while we were doing it. And again, also she's like, oh my God, you like that scene? I didn't think that was, I feel like if I thought about it, I could come up with some specific examples, but there's nothing off the top of my head. But yeah, we discussed that stuff for sure. I mean, I had to play drunk one time, and I called a friend. I phoned a friend and was like, he's also a teacher. I was like, what's your advice? And, he mentioned the Michael Caine thing. And then he mentioned, like, focus on one thing. Like, is it your body that is showing the drunk the most? Is it your speech? Is it your eyes? Focus on one thing rather than...
Right. Because at the end of the day, he can't act it for you. It's ultimately you have to do it. So, like, all he can really tell you, or it's just things that would work for him and things that he would think about, but, like, it might not even, like, resonate with you, really, right? Like, but I also feel like there's a lot of sabotage in the film industry, and it just reminds me of that one scene in Friends. Fucking Joey, he was teaching a class. Do you remember that scene? He was teaching a class, like a soap opera class, with like a bunch of like aspiring actors, and like he made his like pupil to like act it out as gay because Joey was actually auditioning for that part.
So he wanted to take his performance, like how he would do it?
Like, so Joey and his pupil were auditioning for the same part as like the, like a boxer. Right. And then his pupil asked Joey to like teach him how to like, like any tips or any way that he can prepare for it. And Joey tried to sabotage him by telling him to play
like he told him to do the opposite thing so that he would
like
get the part.
Yeah, exactly. And then
that's bad.
And then he actually
devious.
And then the like his student actually got the part, and Joey's like, what the fuck? Like I told him to play gay, and then like I feel like,
and everyone was like, what an interesting character,
Yeah, and it actually like worked out for him. So I feel like, I don't know, of course there's that, and there's the dark side of the industry where that happens.
I heard a shitty story from a male actor who was working with a few other, it was like an all-male like kind of ensemble thing, like in like a very Hollywood thing, and like he mentioned something about how like they were like trying to steal the scene from each other, like Like, so that, like, they thought even further, like, about how it was going to get cut, the scene, like, and how it was going to get edited, and, like, how to make sure that the camera was going to have to stay on them longer.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, because once you start, like, learning about that stuff and kind of getting hip to that, you can kind of manipulate a little bit. You don't want to do that shit. That's just dirty business. You don't want to do that.
Right. Whatever lines you have is the lines you have. I mean, you can't really, like, add more things to it, or kind of. So, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know how you would manipulate it, but I feel like it's just, I don't know. You know, I mean, there's slimy stuff in every field, I guess.
People, and sometimes they get ahead, and that's okay too. Like, you know, I think everybody has their own. I try to think, you know, everybody has their own process, their own journey. And I try to be a good person. I'm sure sometimes, you know, I've had moments where my behavior wasn't great. I've had moments where my behavior was fabulous. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you're human. And
I think it's natural to, you know, have that little edge and that little chip on your shoulder where, like, someone does come ask you for advice, and, you know, you don't want to reveal all the answers, right? Like, I get that. Like, I don't, you know,
emotional stuff, like crying, like, you know, people, how do you cry on cue? What were you thinking about when you did this scene? Because it was just so activated behind your eyes. Like, what were you thinking about? You know, like, people will say stuff like that. And sometimes, depending on whether you want to share it or not, there's something called the actor's secret. It's like an old acting thing, like, where, like, you have a secret, you know, that you don't tell anybody while you're doing the scene, and it, like, creates a life for you. Sometimes you'll talk about it and you'll tell people before, or sometimes you won't, and you'll tell people after the scene, or you'll tell them only after it wraps, because it's something that kind of, like, you know, like, lights a little fire for you to create more life. Or, like, sometimes you'll do something really stupid, like, where, like, you know, there's little tricks where, like, if I had an acting teacher tell me, if you want to look like you're thinking about something, but, like, you're not really connecting to it and you don't know what to do, like, just start, like, naming all of your grade school teachers in your head. Like, go through first grade to 8th grade.
Yeah,
because your brain, like, your eyes are going to flicker because you're actually thinking. So you don't look like you have, like, dead face. Like, or, like, make a sandwich, you know what I mean? Like, the perfect sandwich. Like, I want this multigrain bread with pesto, aioli, and, like, and, you know, like, you get engaged. So, like, there's tricks like that. Like, obviously, you want to be connected in a perfect world. You want to be connected to what's going on in the scene. Like, Meryl Streep always says, like, if I'm not crying naturally, she says, then there's something wrong with the scene. I mean, that's a big claim.
Damn.
That's a big claim, right?
Yeah. Because
she says that, like, if I'm not moved to tears naturally, then there's something wrong. You know, I mean, I haven't had the privilege yet to necessarily. I mean, maybe that's happened. You know, it happens naturally, sure, and that is beautiful. That's the best. That's what you want. But like, there's tricks. You know,
I wanted to actually talk to you about acting classes. So, what was your experience doing that? Because I know everyone has a different path, and some people don't have formal training, and some people do have formal training. How did you feel about coaching? Is that something that you enjoy?
Coached.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that process? Some people find it very, very difficult, and they do a lot better outside of that, and then some people, you know, everybody's different.
Yeah, well, there's a few things. So I did a training program. I did a 2-year Esper at William Esper Studio in New York. It's like a Meisner program, and I felt like that was like something that like gave me some really good foundations for, you know, like the basics. But Tiffany, I don't want to get her name wrong, a big casting director that I had taken a class with one time said to be careful, because a lot of actors will get a callback for something. They won't coach. They won't get coached for the first audition, and they'll do something. They'll just go with their instinct. And then they'll get excited or they'll get nervous. And again, like I was saying before, they're trying to fulfill what they think casting wants for this role.
Okay.
But they already saw something that they did naturally with instinct. So then they get coached. They change their performance.
They mess it up.
And it falls flat.
Yeah.
In some cases, I've worked with, I just went back, I took a break. I recommend Katie Flahive does these amazing in-person and Zoom, because she goes back and forth from LA. She's an on-set coach. So she'll go on big sets. She's just on something for Apple TV, and she'll coach the actors on set. That's when you get to the big times. You get your coach on set with you in the moment, which is cool, right? And I learned so much from her taking class with her, because she teaches specifically for on-camera work. So we would record everything we did in class, and we would do things for the camera, because you need to sometimes adjust your performance for what type of shot it is. If it's a close-up, versus the master, it's a little bit different. And that's also fun. Again, like I said, like once you start to know about what's going on with the camera, it becomes really a fun puzzle to play with, to kind of create a performance. You don't know how they're going to cut it. You don't know.
It's very true.
How the director,
that's another art too, cutting
oh my God.
And that changes everything too.
Oh, yeah.
The way the emotional impact, how you cut that.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, but I owe a lot to her for teaching me a lot, and it was like a boot camp. But I just recently went back to doing some coaching. I found some people through Instagram. I was like, I had a cop role. I just shot a film in Utah where I was a deputy. And it was like a rescue film. This boy gets lost. They're all camping, gets lost. He falls in a mine, and the whole town goes in and goes to save him. And I found this guy somehow on Instagram, and I was like, oh, this guy's got, I was like looking at my strengths, and then I was like, I have a hole, like a hole here. This guy's got what I'm missing. He's played tons of cop roles, and he's done like huge stuff, Mad Men, like huge stuff.
Yeah.
So I coached with him. And it's scary to do that. Showing your auditions to people is actually scarier than showing the finished product for some reason. And I wanted his, I felt like he had something I was missing. And I coached with him, and he helped me. I got the part, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like, yeah, like you're trying too hard here, or this is great, your instincts are great here. And it gets easier as you go on, because auditioning, you were asking me about auditioning earlier. And I mean, that again could be a whole podcast too, because that's an art, that they say the audition is the job. If you're getting auditions, like, praise the Lord, and you're so happy to do it, and you should go into it. Amy Schumer once said, like, she goes into it as if she already has the part, and she's just going to play. And auditions get easier as you do them. It is a thing of repetition. And so, you need to be disciplined, because you got to go on. I have people come to me all the time, I want to be an actor, and like, are you submitting every day? If you don't have reps, are you submitting yourself every day on Actors Access, on casting networks? Are you recording yourself doing monologues and scenes and practicing self-tape and using things like We Audition and, going into class and meeting other actors and being their reader and, watching tapes? Like, are you doing all of those things like an athlete? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing that? Because, like, all the time you're not working. I mean, like, obviously you should have a life, but but like, like, if you really want to be good at this, it's like there's like all that training that you need to do and make yourself do that nobody's making you do all day.
And are you willing to get turned down more times than you'll get the part?
Right.
Do you have any tips for people that are going through acting classes? Because I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I remember many years ago, I considered changing jobs. I used to work in the tech industry for a long time, and I remember during a bout of unemployment, I decided, I'm just going to try. I've been thinking about acting. Why don't I take some acting classes, right? Let's see what happens, right? I was terrible at it. One thing I wasn't prepared for, though, I found that after that 3-hour session, because they were at night, I tried very, very hard. I put my all into it, and I found it was weird being emotionally exposed and raw. And at the end of every 3-hour session, I felt like I could sleep for 1,000 years. I was so exhausted, so tired after 3 hours. I'd never experienced anything like that. And it was a very unique experience. So I don't know if other people felt that way, but I thought it was very challenging when you have no experience. You don't know what to expect. And I don't know, are there any coping mechanisms, anything you can suggest?
So I'll do a movie. We'll shoot 13, 15 plus days, maybe around. I come home, I'll sleep for a week.
Oh, shit.
Like, I won't do shit for 3 weeks sometimes, if I'm able. If I have the luxury of like, okay, like I have enough money, and like, or I have another gig coming up, I know what's going on, I don't need to like pound the pavement right away.
Right.
Like, the emotional exhaustion is unbelievable. Like, people don't talk about it.
So it's not just me.
No, it's not just you. It's not just you. And I think that, like, I guess, like, you want to get better at it at a time, but again, we're human. Like, it happens. You're going through, just like in general, when you have an emotional experience, like, it tires you out. And I think you are having an emotional experience. It's not every time I'm acting, it's me, Brianna Cohen, going through my deepest, darkest, experiences. Like, no, but it's physically and emotionally, it's like it's go time when you're on a project, and you come home and you're exhausted. And again, also when you're like just starting and taking classes, it's new, it's a muscle that gets stronger as you do it. I have a friend, he goes movie to movie to movie to movie. I don't know how he does it, but I honestly, so it's so funny, like, I didn't take acting classes as a kid. My parents, funny enough, were like not really into it. I always did theater. I went to Rutgers. I got like a normal bachelor's, but there was an amazing student run theater group at Rutgers when I was there. And I did a show basically every semester pretty much. And then I got out of school and I told my parents, okay, I got my degree. And they were like, great. Now you can, great. That was like our deal. And then I could go and do whatever. I ended up booking 2 voiceovers and a co-star on Orange is the New Black, which was like my first role. And I had a little money. So I went to this acting class. And I'd always been somebody that like, like again, in her small town or whatever, like, I would do well. I had a natural inclination for acting. A 2-year program. The skills that were in my first year, I was terrible. I was like at the bottom. Like, I wasn't great. Like, I was like one of like I'd say, if like not like ranking, if there was, like, I was like near the bottom end of the class. Like, it just wasn't clicking. I was like, oh my God, like, is this not for me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do I actually, like, not actually have a natural talent for this? It was only until the second year we started doing monologues and accent work and, like, some other, just, like, different, using, like, a different, other skill sets. And then I just shined. So, like, there's also certain things that you're good at, and or just like, again, like you could be really good, but like once you go back, you could be an amazing chef and like you need to learn how to chop, like, and you might not be great
right.
knife skills, but you got to learn them. And like, but that doesn't mean you're a shitty chef. Like you'll get better at it.
Right.
And like now the things that were like so hard for me, I remember being emotionally vulnerable. I'm still not like an easy crier. Like there were girls mostly, but maybe some men too, like that were like, and people who go into acting class, I don't know if you've had this, but like there are people that are criers. Like every scene they do, they cry, and they're really good at crying. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily emotionally connected, but they're just really fucking good at crying. That was never me, you know?
Isn't that irritating? I had somebody in my class just like
Right?
flip
There's always that one
flip a
crier.
switch, and I'm like, okay, you're just showing off now. That's really annoying.
Right. So wait, you were jealous of the fact that they could cry on
Yeah,
a dime?
because it's like this like weird bar of like, can you cry? Like, are you really like? But it doesn't necessarily mean also that like somebody can't cry. Like I've had acting teachers that say, once you cry, the scene's over. Because then it's, you know, it's almost like you know when they say you jumped the shark, like you've taken it. Like it's more interesting to see the lead up to the cry. But I have this thing that I actually personally hate that I see on where I'm like bracing the cry. It's like, I'm like, it's like it wants to come out, but like I'm not letting it come out. Like I'm not relaxed enough. And like I see that tension on screen and I'm like, fuck, Brie, like just let it out. You know, like just be the crier. Like you can do it. So like that's a personal journey for me that like I'm like working on. But like I remember my teacher, she was working on it. We were working on emotional preparation. It was like, you know, one of the skills for like a month or two we were working on. She had everybody sit down and like close our eyes, and she like told us this story, you know, like you're on a plane, like you get a call and there's been a plane crash and your parents are on the plane.
Oh shit, yeah.
You know, and like people are crying and like I'm sitting there, like I keep opening my eyes, like, is this bitch for real? Like I'm like, you know, and it's like I like didn't, it was mixed between like I didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't yet able to go there.
Right.
Emotionally at that time.
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because and I've had this theory for a very long time. Now, yes, there are, you know, I look at a lot of actors, a lot of young actors, and yes, some people just inherently have these certain abilities and talents and proclivities, and some people have to work a lot harder to get there, right? And both are totally valid and fine. But I had this theory when I was trying acting, which was a long time ago. I was a lot younger, and I really feel like I wasn't at a stage in my life where I had seen enough tragedy, seen enough heartbreak to really. I feel like there's like it really helps you if you have not had a perfect life, if you've not had everything put on if you've seen some shit, if you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? That you've seen some heartbreak, you've seen some tragedy, you've been through challenges in your life, and I feel like that really helps inform you in your choices. And I didn't have that at that time, and I feel like if I were to try again now, you know, 15 years later, that I would maybe have not an easy time, but an easier time with it, because I'm more experienced, I'm more mature.
100%, because we're playing real people, right? At the end of the day. And being an actor is like being a person, you know, it's like, and I try to tell everybody, and I don't think it's like a, you know, like a nicety that I say this, but like, we're playing people, we're telling stories. So like you're a human being with experience. Like your story matters, you know? You've lived, breathed, cried, loved. So whatever you've experienced, like it matters. Like don't count yourself out just because at this moment you haven't been able to connect with that part of you that you're able to express it.
You have to tap into those emotions somehow.
It takes time. It takes time. Like, and you can knock down a door so many friggin' times. Like, you can knock on a door so many times, and you, like, know in your soul, like, I know I can do this. I know I can do this. And it just doesn't, materialize, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And then one day, just you do it and it works. And it happens. And you're like, oh, I've like reached that. I'm trying this from a different point in my life where now it's different, and I can speak on that. I can do that. And wow, thank God I didn't give up, because like, you know, like exactly, you could go back into scene work right now, into class, and have a completely different take on it.
It's pretty satisfying too, right? When you realize, when you really do lock in, when you really do tap into those things, like, oh yeah.
It's just your wisdom. You grow in wisdom.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
I also love to sing, right? And singing again is like another time. Like I tried, like I was too chicken shit right after college to like go to these like, you know, open call auditions. Honestly, I was too chicken shit. I didn't want to break my own heart. I think I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't strong enough. So I was like, oh, I love music, and you know, I write songs. I'm gonna, you know, try to do this pop star thing. I wanted to be like the next Lorde, you know. And I was in a band in college, and like I messed around with it a little bit. It just like always kind of fell apart. It never really happened for me, you know. But people were like, we love your singing, but it just never gelled. Yesterday I went to this open mic, right? And I'm telling you, bro, I was scared shitless to sing. I don't normally get stage fright. But like I heard this chick the other day, you know, on Instagram, and she was like talking about like, you know, people talk about like fear, like feel the fear but do it anyway.
Right.
And it never clicked for me. I was like still living life paralyzed by fear in so many ways. I could have said no. Like I had this moment in my life last night where it was like a crossroads where I was like, I'm either going to stay where I am in my comfort zone and not sing, not go perform, or I'm going to take the other side, take the blue pill, red pill, whatever, do it, just say, screw it, whatever happens, happens. We're just going to have fun. Do it for the plot, right? Went up. Like it was a moment too where like all the conditions were magically right. Like we all liked the same type of music. Like it was just a good vibe. Like everybody was relaxed, and the vibes were cool. Like it wasn't a competitive open mic. It was like people were all working on stuff and they were friends. I go up there and I was like, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm just going to sing from my heart songs that I love. And I'm just going to wail. And I've been afraid to wail before because like my mom used to say like my voice was too like aggressive or screechy, like when I'd really, you know?
Right.
But I said, F it, I'm just going to do it. That's how I feel right now. I want to get it out. The manager of the bar comes up to me afterward. It was great. We had fun. Manager of the bar comes up to me. She offers me a Thursday night slot to do a gig there, standing gig. She's like, I enjoyed that so much. I'm going to offer you. Like, this was like a dream that I never thought, that was always, I kept knocking on it, and it just didn't come together, no matter what. But for some reason, all of the stars lined up yesterday where like I was able to like I think of like life kind of as like Mario World, or Mario, what is that video game?
Yeah.
You can like get like you like get coins along the way, and then you can like get to the next level. Like I guess I don't know what happened.
You just seized the opportunity. Yeah, I mean, you just went for it, and like you could have easily decided not to go. What if for whatever reason the fear could have overcame?
I could have let the fear
Yeah.
take me over and say, I'm not going to do this. I'm new. I don't know these people. I'm just here to, you know, kind of observe, like, just to have fun. But, like, I did something.
Yeah, and you weren't really attached to the outcome of it, like, whether it was good or not. It was like, okay, I'm just going to go do it just to say that I overcame the fear. I don't even care if it's good or not. I don't even care if I crush it or it's the worst performance ever. I'm just going to do it just to tell myself that I overcame the fear of going up on stage. And that's
Exactly.
it. That's all I need.
Exactly. That's all I needed from it.
Yeah.
And then I met all these new friends, and like, you know, now maybe we'll all hang out again. on Thursday nights. And like now maybe I have a band. Like what?
Yeah.
You know, like
It's weird when you start doing things start to happen. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple.
Right? They talk
right?
about aligned action. Like they talk about action and and it was like scary. And like you realize like, so like, and there's definitely moments in my acting career that were like that too. Like, I don't even know how I got through them, to be honest with you. I was so scared the night before the first day on my first film. Like, I was petrified. But I signed a contract, and somebody came and picked me up. Couldn't back out. And it ended up being great, like, so...
Just,
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's just what, like, the journey is. Just, like, overcoming these little fears and overcoming these little... the little moments of, oh, should I do this? Or I know I should be getting out of my comfort zone now because I am getting a little too comfortable.
Yeah.
And just going for it. Like, one of the things that I really want to do and I still haven't done are street interviews, right? Like, I've already conquered the fact that, the coming on the mic and being on screen and talking for an hour and a half on an episode, but like the next step I believe is me going out and doing street interviews, and that's something I'm still hesitant on. I need this little nudge to go and do it, right? And I know I should be doing it, and I know that it would propel the show to get up to become more than what it is, but it's just one of those things that I gotta do, and I know I will. It's just I gotta do it sooner than later. So it's just
what is it about doing street interviews in particular?
It's just, well, I actually, I did go out onto the street with my mic, and I had a cameraman with me, but I had this preconceived notion that it would be way easier than I thought it was, and then I went out and I saw people walking, and they were just like this, like, barrier.
You thought you were gonna ask them for money or something?
Yeah, and it was just weird because I could also sense the fact that people were looking at me because I did have a mic and I did have a guy behind me with a camera and a fucking, like, a little stand thing. So it was like just like different stimulations coming at me, and I did ask a few people and I did get turned down. So it's also developing the thick skin to know that I will be turned down in street interviews, and Well, you know
what? I can't wait to talk to you in like 6 months or a year, where doing street interviews has become like breathing for you.
Second nature. Yeah,
and it becomes your comfort zone. That like that's going to become your comfort zone.
And then something else.
You take the actions to do it.
Yeah.
And then and then there's the next
thing, whatever.
Then there's
going to
be something else.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. Good for you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, this is a journey. It's the process, and I really like the fact that you said, like, it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. Like, I just don't really see myself doing anything else, and I enjoy coming here. I enjoy talking. I enjoy filming. I enjoy putting out the episodes and seeing the feedback it gets, whether it's good or bad, right? Like, there's just so many variables to it that give me that satisfaction, whether or not it becomes the greatest podcast in the world. Like, that's what I'm striving for. It's not like, it's just, I feel like, it's a product that will come. The product of me coming here consistently and doing
Showing
episodes,
up
finding
and doing
guests,
it, right?
and talking, right? It's just, that's what it is, really.
That's like a beautiful life lesson that I'm learning too, like the discipline of routine. Like, it does, baby steps do add up, and it's having the discipline and the trusting yourself that you're going to show up and just do it, and even when you don't feel like doing it, you just do it. And
you're always glad that you did right after.
And it's like going to the gym, right? Or going to that workout class. Like, you're never like, oh, I shouldn't have. worked out
Yeah.
today. You know, it
right.
doesn't happen. It feels good.
This has been really good. Honestly, I really appreciate this talk. I mean, we could go on and on about it.
This was my first podcast. I was so scared.
Really? No, you were great. Like, it didn't seem like you were nervous at all. I mean, I don't expect you to be, but yeah, that was.
I'm so nervous. I'm gonna throw up.
You were a natural. Thank you. You were very generous with your time, and I'll let Mo have the last word. But is there anything that you want to plug? Any upcoming projects? Anything you want to talk about? Anything at all? Not even doesn't have to be related to acting. I know it sounds like you were interested in writing. You got anything that you're working on?
I wrote a pilot during the pandemic. I had a little bit of success with it in like the festival circuit, the smaller festival circuit, and I do want to get back to writing. I have some features that I'm writing right now, but talk about discipline. I think that's like a next step for me to really get those out. But yeah, I have a few movies coming out in November and December on Lifetime, and yeah, if you check out the Brianna Cohen on Instagram, thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much, and I am officially going to be. I've accepted the fact that I'm going to be late. It's okay though. It's okay. Life goes on, you know.
Life goes on.
Yeah, 65, Alex. This is episode 65. Brianna Cohen, thank you. This means a lot. I appreciate you coming on. The clips are going to be great. I already know. You're going to be awesome.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
Bye.
We'll keep in touch.